Imagine biting into dishes that fed kings built empires and survived plagues when every meal was gambled between life and death. Medieval cooks turned scraps into feasts, necessity into art, and simple ingredients into culinary masterpieces that would make modern chefs weep with envy. Forget everything you think you know about medieval food. This wasn't gruel and stale bread. This was sophisticated cuisine where spices cost more than gold. Single dishes displayed kingdom wealth, and religious fasting sparked more creativity than any cooking show. From pickled vegetables lasting harsh winters to elaborate pies singing when opened. These 25 forgotten dinners tell real story of medieval gastronomy. Buckle up, we're feasting like $15.99. Mixed pickles. You could smell it down the street, that sharp, tangy perfume of vinegar and spices wafting from every kitchen window. Mixed pickles weren't just food, they were survival insurance when winter meant death, and fresh vegetables were a distant memory. This ancient preservation technique stretched back to Mesopotamia around 2400 BCE, but by the Middle Ages, it had evolved into something magical. The recipe from Curie on English took humble root. Vegetables, parsley roots, carrots, radishes, turnips, white cabbage, and transformed them into liquid gold with a secret weapon that made all the difference. The aroma hit you in waves, first the clean bite of white wine vinegar, then the warm earthiness of ground ginger, followed by the golden luxury of saffron strands, floating like tiny threads of sunset. The whole mixture sparkled with currants and sang with French mustard, while cinnamon and black pepper danced with anise and fennel seeds, creating a symphony that promised both preservation and pleasure. Medieval cooks knew exactly what they were doing when they added hard-eating pears to the mix. The fruit brought natural sweetness that balanced the acid, while honey and fruity white wine created layers of complexity that would make modern picklers jealous. This wasn't just about keeping vegetables edible. This was about creating something better than fresh. Here's how they worked their magic. First, wash and peel those root vegetables, then slice them thin core and shred the cabbage. Place everything in a large pan with clean water and bring to a gentle boil. Add the pears once simmering and cook until vegetables start to soften. Drain thoroughly and spread in a shallow dish. Sprinkle with salt, ground ginger, dried saffron, and white wine. Vinegar cover and let rest for 12 hours. After resting, rinse well and add currants. Pack into sterilized jars, leaving headspace. Meanwhile, combine fruity white wine with honey. Bring to a simmer and skim foam. Add remaining vinegar, allspices, and sugar. Stir until dissolved. Then bring to full boil. Pour hot liquid over vegetables, ensuring they're covered by at least an inch. Seal with vinegar-proof seals. The result was complex, sweet-sour perfection, with aromatic spices and unique textural contrast that made every bite an adventure. This dish graced Christmas tables alongside cheese and crackers, proving that preservation could be both practical and elegant. Cabbage chowder. The golden shimmer gave it away immediately. That unmistakable glint of saffron floating on the surface told everyone at the table this wasn't peasant food anymore. This was cabbage elevated to royalty, despite starting as the most humble ingredient imaginable. Cabbage ruled the medieval world, not because it was fancy, but because it was the opposite: completely reliable, easy to grow, and miraculously, the government didn't tax. Home gardens that grew at every peasant family could cultivate this green lifesaver without owing the crown a single penny, making it the ultimate democratic vegetable. But here's where medieval ingenuity kicked in when lords and kings wanted to eat cabbage. They couldn't just serve it plain. That would be social suicide. Instead, they transformed it with the most expensive spice on earth: saffron threads that cost more than gold, and turned simple cabbage into what they called a pompous color befitting nobility. The aroma started with earthy cabbage sweetness, then exploded into layers of complexity. Ground coriander added warm citrus notes, while cinnamon brought woody spice. Sugar balanced the natural bitterness, and saffron wrapped everything in its distinctive hay, like fragrance that screamed luxury from every spoonful. This French medieval household recipe proved that even basic ingredients could climb social ladders with the right treatment. The dish combined firm-hearted cabbage with onions and white parts of leeks, all swimming in rich chicken or vegetable stock that had been properly seasoned with salt and those precious golden threads. Here's the medieval magic. Begin by preparing stock, combine with water, and bring to boil, then reduce to simmer, stir. In saffron water made by dissolving threads in warm water, add salt. Ground coriander, cinnamon, and sugar next. Add quartered cabbage, minced onion, and thinly sliced white leek. Parts cover and simmer for 20 minutes until vegetables turn tender. For heartier meals, add small toast pieces or fried bacon strips. But even without meat additions, this chowder delivered comfort and sophistication. In equal measure, the saffron didn't just add color, it created an entirely different dining experience experience that elevated humble cabbage into something worthy of royal tables. The final result was savory, subtly spiced, and visually stunning with that golden hue that announced to everyone present that this meal represented both nourishment and status. A perfect example of how medieval cooks transformed necessity into luxury through pure culinary cleverness. Departed cream fish, mortrews. When medieval cooks said departed, they weren't talking about death, they meant color. The stunning two-toned presentation that made this smooth fish pâté look like edible art floating across aristocratic tables during the strictest religious fasting days. Mortrews came from the mortar and pestle, the primary tools that ground ingredients to silky perfection. This wasn't just any fish dish. This was culinary rebellion disguised as religious compliance when meat was forbidden by church decree. For 1/3 of the year, creative cooks turned to fish and made it better than anything served on regular days. The aroma told the whole story. First came the clean, oceanic scent of fresh codling thornback or haddock. Then the rich nuttiness of blanched almonds transformed into creamy milk, followed by the warm, golden notes of saffron and the spicy bite of ground ginger and cinnamon that announced this was no ordinary Lenten meal. Medieval cooks understood that religious restrictions sparked innovation, not limitation. They took this fish-based variant and turned dietary rules into opportunities for elaborate presentation. The practice of serving dishes in two distinct colors, often achieved with precious saffron, showed that even within religious constraints, aesthetic appeal and visual sophistication remained paramount. The silky texture came from meticulous preparation that started with blanched almonds, processed with water boiled with sugar and salt to create rich almond milk. Meanwhile, fresh fish was boiled in salted water until cooked through, then carefully picked clean from all bones and skin. Here's how they achieve perfection. Grind the cooked fish to very fine consistency, then mix with prepared almond milk in a pot grate. Wastel bread, the finest white bread available, and add to the fish mixture. Stir continuously until the mixture becomes very thick, achieving that distinctive pâté-like consistency. Incorporate saffron to impart vibrant color, and once prepared slice the mortrews into individual serving dishes, garnish with ground ginger and cinnamon for presentation that announced both sophistication and compliance with religious dietary laws. The final experience delivered creamy, subtly spiced fish with remarkably smooth texture that made diners forget they were eating anything other than luxury. The use of almond milk provided rich mouthfeel without dairy, while the two-color presentation added visual drama that transformed religious obligation into culinary opportunity. This dish proved that medieval cuisine embraced religious practices as creative catalysts, turning dietary restrictions into artistic expression. Spit roasted or grilled steak. The sizzle announced wealth before you even saw the meat. Venison and beef commanded respect in medieval society, where only the nobility could afford such luxury, and even fewer could access the prized game that required royal hunting privileges to obtain. These weren't just expensive cuts. They were social statements. Beef demanded substantial investment in land and feed for cattle that were often more valuable alive as working animals or milk producers. Venison existed almost exclusively on noble tables, highlighting elite status, while the inclusion of bone marrow and suite in preparations like aloes de boeuf showed medieval cooks understood that what modern palates might avoid was actively sought for flavor richness and nutritional density. The aroma started with the deep, savory scent of searing meat, followed by the complex bouquet of medieval spicing, ground ginger, saffron, and salt, mingled with the sharp tang of verjuice, that tart condiment made from unripe grapes. Then came the rich, fatty notes of bone marrow and suet that medieval diners craved for both taste and sustenance. For simple grilled preparations, the meat was seasoned and cooked to desired doneness, then lightly sprinkled with cinnamon, while modern substitutes like Seville orange juice replaced the traditional verjuice, but the elaborate aloes de boeuf showcased true medieval sophistication. Here's how they created these herbed rolled masterpieces. Combine chopped, fresh, parsley, slivered onion, crumbled hard-cooked egg yolks, and diced bone marrow or suet. Season with ground ginger, saffron, salt, and optional pepper and cinnamon. Meanwhile, slice beef steaks thinly across grain or pound very thin with rolling pin or meat hammer. Spread generous amounts of prepared stuffing onto each beef slice. Carefully roll up and secure tightly with toothpicks or butcher's string to maintain shape during cooking. Roast at 350 Fahrenheit until internal temperature reaches 165 degrees. Alternatively, grill or fry until well browned on all sides. For the accompanying sauce, combine beef broth, breadcrumbs, saffron red wine, ginger, and cinnamon bring to boil, then simmer, stirring continuously until sauce thickens to desired consistency. Slice cooked beef rolls into inch-thick pieces, arrange in pan cover with prepared sauce, and bake at 350 for additional 20 to 30 minutes, allowing flavors to meld. Garnish with spice, sprinkles, dash of vinegar, and crumbled egg yolks. These preparations offered rich, savory meat, enhanced by sweet, sour tang and aromatic spices, highlighting medieval preference for highly seasoned meats. Mushroom pasties. The term pasty itself came from medieval French paste or pasta, referring to pies prepared without dishes. These weren't just convenient foods, they were edible containers that made perfect sense for a world constantly on the move. Mushroom pasties carried fascinating contradictions, despite common foraging for edible mushrooms in medieval times. Surviving manuscripts show surprisingly few specific mushroom recipes. This dish emerged from Le Ménagier de Paris, proving that vegetarian options could adapt for vegans while showcasing the medieval concept of pastry as functional cooking vessel rather than edible component until the 15th century. The aroma began with earthy button mushrooms briefly dipped in boiling salted water to clean thoroughly and retain texture, preventing soggy pastry. Then came the rich nuttiness of Gruyere cheese, though Comté Beaufort or Parmesan worked equally well, followed by the warm complexity of medieval spice blends. Coriander, ginger pepper, cinnamon, nutmeg, or pre-mixed powder fort that delivered robust flavor. This practical approach reflected medieval life, where pasties served dual purposes. Larger versions stayed home, while smaller ones traveled in pockets and pouches. The evolution from huff paste functional containers to edible short crust pastry marked growing appreciation for texture and flavor across entire meals, signifying greater culinary sophistication in late Middle Ages. Preparation started with trimming mushroom stems, then parboiling them in salted water for approximately 2 minutes. This crucial step cleaned thoroughly while ensuring they retained texture during baking, preventing disappointing soggy pastry. Drain well, pat, dry, then chop or slice as desired. Combine prepared mushrooms with olive oil, grated cheese, and powdered spices. Season with salt to taste. Meanwhile, line small, deep pans like muffin tins with 2/3 of short crust. Pastry dough, chill-lined pans while preparing remaining filling. Fill each pastry-lined cup with mushroom mixture. Roll out remaining dough to create lids. Seal edges using beaten egg as adhesive for aesthetic appeal. Tops can be decorated with pastry trimmings. Cut small crosscut in center of each lid, allowing steam escape during baking. Brush entire surface with remaining egg wash. Bake at temperature between 350 and 400 Fahrenheit for 15 to 25 minutes until crust achieves golden brown color. Serve warm or cold, making them versatile for any occasion. These pasties offered savory, earthy flavor profile with cheese richness and aromatic spice warmth, complementing mushrooms, while parboiling step ensured desirable texture, appealing as hearty snacks, elegant appetizers, or light meals, embodying historical role as portable satisfying food. Lamb or mutton stew. The bubbling pot told stories of efficiency and survival. This wasn't just cooking, this was medieval multitasking where single vessels could simmer for days, with ingredients added incrementally, creating dishes that constantly evolved in flavor and consistency while maximizing precious firewood consumption. Lamb and mutton dominated medieval Europe, particularly in regions with significant wool industries. These meats represented practical protein sources that served dual economic purposes, providing both sustenance and textile materials, while stews called pottages formed the cornerstone of medieval diet, valued for their remarkable ability to maximize nutritional output from every available ingredient. The aroma started with rich, meaty notes from veal or mutton pieces browning in the pot. Then came the herbaceous blend of fresh seasonings, minced onions, and the distinctive sharp tang of verjuice that would thicken everything into velvet smooth consistency when combined with beaten eggs. This living pot concept defined medieval cooking philosophy, where continuous cooking over fires for several days meant ingredients could be added whenever available, resulting in dishes that constantly transformed, reflecting daily rhythms and seasonal availability while minimizing waste. Medieval households understood that food management required constant adaptation before refrigeration existed, making these continuously evolving stews perfect solutions for utilizing whatever ingredients became available while maintaining nutritious, satisfying meals throughout changing circumstances. Here's how they mastered this technique. Cut chosen meat, either veal or mutton, into bite-sized pieces, place in pot with broth. Herbs and minced onions bring mixture to boil, then reduce heat to simmer, allowing meat to cook while flavors meld. Add selection of spices using powder fort blend, comprising black pepper, cubeb, cassia, cinnamon, mace, and clove, which provided historically appropriate strong spice profile for savory meat dishes. In separate bowl, whisk eggs thoroughly, then gradually whisk in verjuice or modern substitute like Seville orange juice or lemon juice, creating tempering mixture that would thicken without curdling. Slowly incorporate egg and verjuice mixture into simmering stew, stirring constantly to prevent eggs from scrambling, crucial that stew not return to full boil after egg mixture. Addition continues simmering gently until meat becomes tender and stew reaches desired thickness. The final result delivered hearty, savory flavor profile, rich with meat and aromatic aromatic herbs balanced by distinctive tang of verjuice, while thickening with eggs, provided unique velvety texture, appealing as comforting rustic meal, providing glimpse into foundational role of stews in medieval diets. Haddock in tasty sauce, civet. The instruction to cut fish open and bone it for easy spoon consumption revealed medieval dining reality forks hadn't arrived yet, so every dish needed careful consideration for practical eating. This civet, typically made from game meat, adapted brilliantly for fish, becoming essential during countless religious fast days. This dish exposed medieval economic hierarchies even within religious dietary restrictions. Wealthy individuals used oil for frying during Lent, while poorer people resorted to butter and omitted costly saffron, showing how affordability dictated specific preparation methods and ingredients, even when following identical religious rules. The aroma began with fresh haddock fillets, seasoned with salt, then moved to the sauce base, where finely chopped onions, fried until well browned in butter or oil, created rich foundation. Next came the distinctive blend of ground white pepper and fine soft white breadcrumbs, followed by brown ale that would be processed into smooth consistency. Medieval cooks understood that religious observances didn't limit culinary development. Instead, they sparked innovation. Fish became canvas for elaborate flavor combinations, while practical considerations like eating without utensils shaped every preparation decision. Preparation started with shallow saucepan of salted water brought to boil. Place chunked haddock fillets, ensuring complete coverage. Simmer approximately 2 minutes, then remove pan from heat, keeping covered, allowing fish to continue cooking gently in residual heat. Drain fish, reserving about 200 milliliters of salted cooking water for sauce base. Meanwhile, heat butter or oil in separate saucepan, add finely chopped onions, frying until well browned, creating flavor foundation. Mix fine, soft white breadcrumbs with ground white pepper, adding mixture to saucepan with onions. Pour in brown ale and reserved salted fish. Water stirring thoroughly to combine all ingredients. Process sauce in blender until achieving smooth consistency for optional enhancement. Place cooked fish chunks on grilling rack, lightly rub with butter. Grill about 5 minutes, creating subtle glaze. Arrange fish optionally on bed of spinach as modern addition, then generously pour blended sauce over fish, ensuring complete coverage. Final dish offered savory fish experience with rich, complex sauce, carrying slightly bitter note from ale or sweet sour tang, depending on specific civet preparation. Texture of sauce, thickened with breadcrumbs, proved distinctive, while emphasis on boning fish for spoon eating highlighted medieval dining practicality, appealing as unique fish preparation showcasing medieval flavor combinations and dining habits. Cherry pottage.
Today, I'll be making a very simple cherry pudding, which was recorded in the 14th century AD.
The vibrant red color announced gentility before the first spoonful. This wasn't just any dessert. This was aristocratic theater where costly ingredients like wine, fine white bread, and precious white sugar transformed simple cherries into edible status symbols that screamed wealth from every gleaming surface. Cherries themselves were widely available across all social classes, cultivated in monastic and royal gardens, and sold in bustling markets. But cherry pottage elevated humble fruit through sheer expense. The use of white sugar and wasteful bread served as explicit symbols of privilege, since these ingredients required labor-intensive production, making them prohibitively expensive for average people. The aroma started with fresh, ripe red cherries that had been pitted and pureed either by hand or food processor, then pressed through fine mesh sieve to extract pure juice, creating approximately 3/4 cup of concentrated cherry essence. Next came the rich alcoholic notes of red wine mingling with unsalted butter that melted into the mixture. The inclusion in forme of Curie King Richard II's court cookbook further underscored aristocratic appeal, while the phenomenon where gentility in medieval cuisine was significantly determined by rarity and cost of ingredients rather than solely complex preparation revealed value system where material wealth translated directly into culinary status. Here's how they created this royal delicacy. Remove stems and stones from fresh cherries, puree pitted cherries, then press through fine mesh sieve extracting juice. Aim for approximately 3/4 cup of pure cherry juice. In pot or saucepan, melt unsalted butter, add cherry puree, red wine, white sugar, and pinch of salt to mixture. Gradually add soft white breadcrumbs to mixture, stirring continuously until mixture thickens to consistency, similar to porridge. Bring mixture to boil, then reduce heat simmering approximately 10 minutes, stirring frequently preventing sticking. Pour cooked pottage into serving bowls, cover allowing complete cooling before serving. Before serving, garnish with edible pink flowers or gilded whole cloves. Sprinkle coarse white sugar over top for added sweetness and visual appeal. Cherry pottage offered rich, balanced, sweet, tart flavor, combining natural fruitiness of cherries with warmth of wine and richness of butter breadcrumbs. Contributed velvety pudding-like texture, while vibrant red color and elegant presentation made it visually appealing. Unique dessert or breakfast dish, appealing to those interested in exploring historical sweet preparations, connecting modern palates to medieval aristocratic dining, where ingredient cost determines social standing more than culinary complexity. Cream custard tart ducetus. The evolution happening right on the plate told the whole story of medieval culinary progress. Early pastries served purely as cooking vessels called coffins, made from just flour and water, never intended for consumption. But this 15th century recipe employed pieced, royal, early short crust pastry, marking the moment when containers became part of the enjoyment. Ducettes represented testament to enduring appeal of egg-based desserts, with recipes dating back centuries. But the shift where vessel itself became part of dining experience signified move towards greater culinary sophistication and refinement, demonstrating that medieval cooks increasingly cared about overall sensory pleasure rather than just functional necessity. The aroma began with rich butter and flour mixture rubbed together until resembling coarse sand. Then came beaten egg yolks mixed with cold water, forming firm, workable dough. Meanwhile, the filling released luxurious scents, double cream and milk whisked with white sugar or honey when sugar proved unavailable, plus distinctive earthy notes of saffron strands that provided both color and flavor. This complete edible short crust pie didn't become common in recipes until 15th century, highlighting crucial transition period when pastry evolved from purely utilitarian function to integral palatable component, reflecting growing appreciation for texture and flavor across entire meal. Preparation started with pastry making. Rub together butter and flour until mixture resembles coarse sand. Add egg yolks and little cold water if necessary. Mixing until firm, workable dough forms. Roll out pastry dough using to line small, deep tart pans or pie dish. Blind bake pastry. Preheat oven to 400 Fahrenheit. Line pastry cases with baking beans or weights. Blind baking 15 minutes after initial bake. Remove weights, reducing oven temperature to 320 Fahrenheit, continuing baking another 5 minutes. While pastry blind bakes, prepare custard beat egg yolks. Thoroughly mix in double cream milk, white sugar, and saffron strands, whisking all ingredients together until smooth, thin custard mixture achieved. Carefully pour prepared custard filling into pre-baked pastry cases. Return tarts to oven baking at 320 Fahrenheit for 20 to 25 minutes until tops golden brown and filling set, yet still slightly wobbly. This cream custard tart offered creamy, rich, delicately sweet flavor with subtle earthy notes of saffron, smooth texture, and golden appearance, made it visually appealing, providing taste of medieval sweetness in familiar form, while illustrating historical progression of pastry from functional container to integrated culinary component. Rose pudding. The floral perfume transported diners to another world entirely. This wasn't just dessert. This was edible aromatherapy, showcasing once prevalent but now largely forgotten floral palette that dominated European cuisine. Roses reigned as exceptionally popular flavor in 14th century, integrated into wide array of dishes, including both savory game preparations and numerous desserts. Roses carried ancient culinary credentials with earliest known recipes, incorporating them dating back to ancient Rome, indicating long continuous tradition that persisted through medieval times. Even today, rose water remains common ingredient in various global cuisines, though its widespread use in Western cooking has dramatically diminished since medieval period. The aroma began with full-blown, unshriveled white rose petals that had been blanched in boiling water for 2 minutes, then pressed between soft kitchen paper under heavy flat weight to squeeze completely dry. Next came the creamy base of rice flour blended with milk, creating smooth foundation followed by warm spices, cinnamon and ginger, plus the rich nuttiness of pine nuts and sweet chewiness of minced dates. Medieval recipes for similar dishes were known as rosy or reed rose. While extensive use of rose in medieval cooking, not just for desserts, but for savory dishes, indicated culinary palate that embraced floral notes far more broadly than modern Western cuisine, demonstrating that medieval dining was multi-sensory experience where aroma, taste, and visual presentation held equal importance. Preparation started with rose petal preparation. Take petals from full-blown, unshriveled white rose, blanch in boiling water. 2 minutes after blanching, press petals between several sheets, soft kitchen paper placing heavy flat weight on top to squeeze dry. In saucepan, blend rice flour or corn flour with small amount of milk, creating smooth cream. Gradually stir in remaining milk. Place pan over low heat, stirring continuously until mixture begins thicken. Transfer thickened mixture to electric blender. Add sugar, spices, cinnamon, and ginger, plus prepared blanched rose petals. Blend until mixture completely smooth. Slowly blend in cream or almond milk and pinch of salt. Return entire mixture to saucepan. Heat, gently stirring constantly until mixture achieves consistency of thick cream. Stir in minced dates and pine nuts. Continue heating additional 2 minutes. Pour pudding into individual glasses or bowls. Allow cooling, completely stirring, occasionally preventing skin forming on surface. Serve chilled, often decorated with additional dates and nuts. Rose pudding offered unique sensory experience. Creamy, subtly floral sweet taste with warm undertones of spice and textural contrast from pine nuts and dates. Pescods, peas in the pod. The duality of pescods revealed medieval ingenuity at its finest. This dish existed in 2 completely different forms, showcasing how common ingredients could be transformed through elaborate preparation or expensive accompanying ingredients to suit different social strata and occasions, proving medieval ability to adapt humble foods for various purposes. Peas themselves carried impressive historical credentials, being among earliest legumes cultivated by humans dating back to Neolithic period around 8000 BC. They served as vital food source across all social levels, from peasants to wealthy, often providing essential protein during periods of scarcity and famine, where they were frequently prepared as purees. By 17th and 18th centuries, specific varieties like petit pois became culinary sensation and luxury food at royal courts, notably that of Louis XIV, highlighting how status of simple ingredients could evolve dramatically over time through selective breeding and cultural preferences. The fruit version released complex aromatic blend, starting with dried figs, raisins, and dates pulverized in food processor, then enhanced with ground ginger, cinnamon, mace, cloves, and salt, creating rich, sweet, spiced mixture that developed deeper flavors when allowed to stand. Meanwhile, the batter contributed its own appeal, combining water, oil, saffron, and salt, with flour gradually added until achieving thickened cream consistency. Simple pea preparation offered entirely different experience, boiling young green peas, including their pods, until tender, then draining thoroughly before adding butter and spices, pepper, salt, mace, mixing well to coat, followed by final sprinkle of white vinegar just before serving. Here's how they mastered both interpretations for fruit version: pulverized dried figs, raisins, and dates. In food processor, add ground spices and salt, processing until well combined, allowing mixture to stand, developing flavors form into small patties. Meanwhile, prepare batter combining water and oil, heating, gently stir in saffron and salt. Gradually add flour, spoonful by spoonful, mixing continuously until achieving thickened cream consistency. Heat oil for deep frying dip each fruit patty, ensuring complete coating. Then carefully drop into hot oil, frying until pale gold color. Remove and drain on kitchen paper. For simple version, boil young green peas with pods until tender, drain thoroughly. Add butter and spices, mixing well, serve hot with final white vinegar sprinkle. Both versions provided fascinating glimpse into medieval snacking and side dishes, with fruit version offering forgotten culinary concept, savory sweet fried item, standing apart from modern categories. Fried livers with saba. The sizzle of liver hitting hot oil announced a dish that bridged ancient Rome and medieval innovation. Liver, categorized as offal, was widely consumed and highly valued in medieval Europe, prized for rich nutrient content, while its consumption stretched back to ancient times when Roman offal served as payment for slaughterhouse workers, and goose liver pate graced tables as early as ancient Egypt. This preparation showcased remarkable culinary heritage. Chopped liver originated in Jewish communities, then influenced French cuisine, leading to foie gras, while spreading through Eastern European Jewish populations. Meanwhile, saba, that sweet syrup made from reduced grape, mustard was common sweetener in ancient Rome that continued into early Middle Ages, demonstrating continuity in foodways across vast historical periods. The aroma began with fresh coriander leaves, blended with olive oil and salt, creating smooth green puree that would crown each slice. Next came lamb's or calf's liver, lightly rolled in white flour, ensuring even coating, followed by olive oil heated to high temperature in frying pan. Then the distinctive sweet tartness of saba reduced grape, that provided unique counterpoint to rich liver. This dish exemplified interplay of culinary heritage and resourcefulness, where liver, food of necessity, also became ingredient for gourmet dishes, while ancient Roman flavors like saba persisted, demonstrating how practical resource utilization could combine with sophisticated flavor combinations. Preparation started with coriander puree and blender. Combine fresh coriander leaves with 2 tablespoons olive oil and pinch of salt, processing until smooth puree forms, set aside for final presentation. Obtain lamb's or calf's liver, slicing into desired portions. Lightly roll each slice in white flour, ensuring even coating that would create golden crust during frying. Pour olive oil into frying pan, heating over high heat once oil reaches proper temperature. Place floured liver slices into pan, frying approximately 2 minutes each side until golden brown and crispy, while maintaining tender interior. Arrange fried liver slices on serving dish topping, each slice with spoonful of prepared coriander puree. Finish by drizzling desired amount of saba over liver, creating unique sweet tart counterpoint to rich savory flavors. This dish offered rich savory fried liver, complemented by fresh herbaceous notes of coriander and distinctive sweet tartness of saba. Using historical sweetener provided authentic, unique flavor, appealing to adventurous eaters and those interested in nose-to-tail cooking, showcasing how medieval cuisine integrated practical resources, haste, date, and nutballs. The energy hit your bloodstream before you finished chewing. These weren't just sweets. They were survival fuel specifically designed for Bedouin travelers crossing endless desert landscapes, where every calorie meant the difference between reaching the next oasis or becoming another cautionary tale buried in shifting sand. This sweet confection carried prestigious credentials, documented in al-Baghdadi's 13th century cookbook, intended for elite circles, proving its presence in sophisticated medieval Arab cuisine. But beyond social status, it served practical purpose as excellent traveler's food due to energy-rich composition that could sustain long journeys. The aroma started with fine dry bread or biscuits ground into breadcrumbs. Then came fresh or preserved dates that had been pitted and cut into small pieces, followed by blend of ground almonds and pistachios, creating nutty foundation. The binding agent sesame oil, though butter or clarified butter, could substitute, added distinctive Middle Eastern character, while fine ground sugar provided finishing sweetness. Optional spices like ginger, cinnamon, and coriander enhanced flavor complexity. Middle Eastern cultures didn't reserve sweet dishes necessarily for meal endings. Instead, they appeared at celebrations, social occasions, or as gestures of hospitality, though they could be enjoyed anytime, reflecting different cultural approach to dessert consumption compared to modern Western dining patterns. Use of refined sesame oil or clarified butter in recipe demonstrated understanding of how to incorporate fats for both flavor and preservation. While this dish exemplified cross-cultural culinary exchange, highlighting how Middle Eastern cuisine influenced broader medieval foodways, extending beyond spices to specific dishes. Preparation began with nut preparation, if using pistachios blanched by soaking in boiling water about 10 minutes, then rub off skins, allowing to dry. Roughly grind almonds and pistachios in mortar and pestle or food processor. Pit dates cutting into small pieces, add prepared dates and breadcrumbs, preferably homemade for superior texture to ground nuts. Processing or kneading until mixture begins coming together. Incorporate optional spices like ginger, cinnamon, and coriander at this stage. Refine sesame oil by gently frying chosen spices in it, if not already added to dry mixture. Alternatively, melt butter or use clarified butter, pour spiced oil or melted fat over date, breadcrumb, and nut mixture. Continue processing or kneading mixture until all ingredients well incorporated and mixture binds together into sticky consistency. Roll mixture into small, bite-sized balls, rolling balls in fine ground powdered sugar until well coated. Store haze in airtight container in cool place, offering delightful combination of sweet, chewy, slightly crunchy textures with rich flavor derived from dates and nuts. Sour grape juice with fried summer fish. The ancient Romans never truly left medieval kitchens. They just disguised themselves in new recipes. This dish embodied characteristic sweet sour flavor profile prevalent in medieval cuisine, but its secret ingredients, defrutum and garum, revealed direct enduring legacy from classical antiquity, where these condiments were widely used, demonstrating continuous evolution of flavor profiles across centuries. Defrutum, that concentrated grape syrup created by reducing juice by 1/3, plus garum, fermented fish sauce, weren't just medieval innovations. They were Roman staples that persisted through Byzantine and Arab culinary traditions, showing how foundational flavors transcended empires and eras, especially in regions with strong historical ties to Roman culture. The aroma began with various summer fish suitable for frying soles, red mullets, gobies, anchovies, releasing oceanic freshness. Then came sauce preparation, starting with mortar ground, black pepper and coriander seeds, mixed with cut date and finely minced oregano and rue, or alternative fresh herbs like mint, cilantro, or parsley. This continuous evolution demonstrated how external forces could reshape fundamental dietary preferences while maintaining core flavor principles that connected medieval tables directly to ancient dining rooms through shared appreciation for complex seasoning combinations. Preparation started with sauce, spices, and herbs in mortar. Grind black pepper and coriander seeds, add cut date and finely minced oregano and rue, or chosen alternative fresh herbs, creating aromatic base. Make defrutum by mashing fresh grapes to extract juice. Boil grape juice until reduced by 1/3, creating concentrated syrup known as defrutum. This process intensified natural grape sweetness while adding complexity. Combine sauce ingredients, mix prepared defrutum with ground spices and herbs, olive oil, white wine, vinegar, and garum or modern fish sauce. Salt substitute, Add small amount of grated asafoetida or laser root for authentic flavor complexity. Cook sauce, bring entire sauce mixture to boil for brief period, approximately 30 seconds, allowing flavors to meld while maintaining fresh herb brightness. Prepare fish scale and gut chosen fish. Deep fry in oil until cooked through and crispy, achieving golden exterior while maintaining tender flaky interior. Serve plate fried fish, generously coating with prepared sweet sour sauce. Finish with final sprinkling of ground black pepper for added heat and aroma. This dish offered complex, intriguing sweet sour, savory flavor profile, characteristic of medieval aristocratic cuisine. Unique combination of reduced grape must and ancient fish sauce provided authentic historical flavors, appealing to those seeking adventurous culinary experiences and deeper understanding of continuity between classical antiquity and medieval period. To dress a crab with butter and verjuice. The elegant presentation in its own shell announced that this wasn't ordinary seafood. This was edible theater, where crab consumption became performance art. Crab, alongside other seafood, held significant place in medieval diet, particularly during numerous religious fasting periods when meat consumption faced restrictions, while its consumption stretched back to ancient times, with crabs considered delicacy in ancient Greece and Rome. This specific recipe, dating to England in 1545, highlighted refined method of preparing crab meat and presenting it elegantly within its own shell, while inclusion of verjuice, that common medieval condiment, underscored the period's preference for sweet sour flavor profiles that defined aristocratic dining. The practice of dressing crab and shell and even garnishing platter with cooked crab heads emphasized strong medieval focus on aesthetic presentation, proving that culinary art and social display weren't confined to meat dishes, but extended to all aspects of medieval diet, even fast day foods. The aroma started with freshly steamed or broiled crabs, releasing oceanic sweetness. Then came the seasoning blend, cinnamon, adding warm woody spice, sugar, providing balancing sweetness, and vinegar, preferably white wine vinegar, contributing sharp acidic brightness, while butter melted into rich golden pools that would bind everything together. Medieval cooks understood that visual impact mattered as much as flavor, creating dishes that impressed guests while demonstrating sophisticated culinary techniques, even when working within religious dietary restrictions. Preparation began with crab cooking, steam or broil. Fresh crabs, until done once cooked, remove all legs, discarding them carefully. Open crab shells, meticulously extracting all edible meat, thoroughly cleaning bottom shells, as these would serve for elegant presentation. Shred and moisten meat in bowl. Shred crab meat with fork. Moistening shredded meat with vinegar, white wine, vinegar recommended for ideal flavor profile. Season and blend, add sugar and cinnamon to crab meat mixture, blending all ingredients together thoroughly with fork, ensuring even distribution of flavors throughout mixture. Heat meat in pan, melt butter over medium heat, add seasoned crab meat mixture to pan cooking while stirring gently until completely heated through. Assemble and serve. Carefully place heated crab meat back into cleaned bottom shells, arranging filled shells on serving platter. Serve immediately while still warm. For added visual effect, sprinkle little fine cinnamon over shelled meat just before serving dish. Can also be accompanied by additional vinegar or clarified butter as side sauce. Final result offered delightful combination of sweet and savory crab meat, enhanced by aromatic warmth of cinnamon, sweetness of sugar, and tangy brightness of vinegar and butter. Peuns y stewed pigeons. The term I stewed revealed medieval cooking philosophy. Liquids were added at beginning of cooking process, allowing flavors to deeply infuse meat during extended slow cooking. This wasn't just preparation method. This was medieval time management, where patient simmering transformed tough game birds into tender, succulent meals. Pigeons occupied important place among wide variety of birds consumed in medieval Europe, alongside pheasants, quail, and larks, with historical records showing pigeon consumption dating back to Middle Ages, while certain regions like Spain held bird in particularly high regard, where it became favorite of King Juan I of Castile. This 14th century English manuscript recipe from Curie on English demonstrated how hidden game meats dominated medieval tables, though sourcing pigeons today proves difficult, leading to suggestions of modern substitutes like Cornish hens, pointing to significant shift in what constituted standard poultry, reflecting changes in agriculture, food supply chains, and culinary preferences over centuries. The aroma began with thoroughly cleaned pigeons, stuffed generously with peeled garlic cloves and mixture of finely minced herbs such as parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Then came the cooking liquid combination of broth covering bottom of pot approximately 1 inch deep, plus measure of verjuice or suitable substitute like vinegar or Seville orange juice. White grease, typically lard lard provided richness, while salt and saffron added seasoning and color powder. That blend of strong spices, typically including pepper clove, cinnamon, ginger, and cubeb, contributed complex heat-optional additions, included whole pepper and marrow for enhanced flavor. Preparation started with pigeon preparation, thoroughly cleaned pigeons, or chosen poultry substitute stuff, cavities of birds generously with peeled garlic cloves and mixture of finely minced herbs. Arrange in pot place, stuffed birds in earthen pot or sturdy cast iron pot, ensuring snug fit for even cooking. Add liquids and seasonings. Pour enough broth to cover bottom of pot, approximately 1 inch deep. Add measure of verjuice, white grease, lard, salt, and saffron. Incorporate powder, fort blend of strong spices. Stew, cover pot tightly cooking over low fire for several hours, allowing birds to become exceptionally tender while flavors meld, creating rich aromatic cooking liquid. Serve once cooked carefully, remove pigeons from pot carving as desired. Generously dress with rich, flavorful cooking liquid from stew. This dish yielded tender, moist, pleasantly flavored birds enveloped in rich, spiced broth with subtle, tangy note from verjuice, appealing as rustic yet deeply flavorful poultry dish, showcasing medieval stewing techniques. Good and perfect hens with sumac. The tangy crimson dust announced exotic origins before the first bite chicken might have been the poultry equivalent of pigs in medieval times due to widespread consumption. But this preparation showcased significant cross-cultural culinary exchange that characterized the medieval period when spices and ingredients from distant lands fundamentally shaped European palates. Sumac carried ancient credentials used in cooking by ancient Greeks after importation from Syria. While in medieval Arab cuisine, sumac juice was widely employed as marinade cooking liquid, souring agent, and even dye. Historically, sumac served as primary source of tartness in European cooking until Romans introduced lemons, demonstrating profound impact of trade routes on medieval flavor development. The aroma started with chicken thighs and drumsticks that had been slashed through skin and flesh to allow deeper flavor penetration. Then came marinade preparation ground, sumac, cumin, allspice, cinnamon, salt, pepper, and crushed garlic, creating loose slurry with olive oil plus thinly sliced red onion that would infuse during marinating process. This good and perfect hens with sumac recipe exemplified global flavor profile, showing how spices and ingredients from distant lands fundamentally shaped culinary trends, while demonstrating medieval Europe's interconnected relationship with broader culinary world through trade and cultural exchange. Timing proved crucial for optimal results if marinating for 1 to 3 hours. Lemon juice could be added immediately. However, if marinating overnight, advisable to add lemon juice just before cooking, preventing meat from breaking down due to extended acid exposure. Preparation began with chicken preparation. Make small slashes in chicken pieces, cutting through both skin and flesh. Place chicken in large bowl for marinating. Prepare marinade in small bowl. Combine ground sumac, cumin, allspice, cinnamon, salt, pepper, and crushed garlic, stirring in olive oil to create loose slurry. Add thinly sliced red onion to mixture. Marinate chicken, pour prepared marinade over chicken pieces, mixing thoroughly to coat all chicken, cover bowl, refrigerating to marinate. Preheat oven to 350. Fahrenheit roast chicken, transfer marinated chicken pieces along with onion slices and accumulated juices to baking sheet or roasting pan roast, approximately 40 to 55 minutes until juices run clear when thickest part pierced and internal temperature reaches 165 Fahrenheit. Prepare pine nuts while chicken roasts. Cook pine nuts in small skillet with tablespoon olive oil until golden brown, draining on paper towel. Serve arrange roasted chicken and red onion on serving platter, finishing by sprinkling with toasted pine nuts, additional sumac, and chopped parsley, drizzling any remaining roasting juices over chicken. Pork loin with peach sauce. The sweet fruit mingling with savory meat created harmony that modern Western cuisine has largely forgotten. Pork reigned as exceptionally common domestic animal, in medieval times favored for relatively low maintenance and cheaper feed requirements compared to beef, while domestic pigs often roamed freely even within town limits, creating unique urban agricultural landscape. This dish exemplified lost art of fruit meat harmony that characterized medieval cuisine, particularly among upper classes, where frequent combination of fruit with meat, fish, and eggs created distinctive sweet, sour flavor profile that served as hallmark of aristocratic medieval food, demonstrating culinary approach that has largely diminished in many modern Western cuisines. The departure reflects distinct understanding of flavor balance and willingness to experiment with combinations that might seem unusual. Today, medieval palates embraced fruit meat pairings as sophisticated culinary culinary expressions rather than curiosities, showing how cultural preferences shape fundamental cooking philosophies across centuries. The aroma began with pork tenderloins seasoned with salt, coarsely ground black pepper, and coarsely ground allspice, creating aromatic crust. Then came cooking process involving butter and diced shallots, releasing sweet onion notes. Finally, peach sauce made from dry white wine and peach preserves filled kitchen with fruity sweetness that would complement rich pork flavors. This sweet, sour flavor profile represented hallmark of aristocratic medieval cuisine, where ingredients were chosen not just for taste, but for their ability to demonstrate wealth and sophistication through unusual combinations that required both expensive ingredients and skilled preparation techniques. Preparation started with pork preparation, preheat oven to 400 Fahrenheit, line baking dish with aluminum foil, placing pork tenderloins on foil, evenly sprinkle with salt, coarsely ground black pepper, and coarsely ground allspice, rubbing spices into meat-covered dish, chilling 30 minutes. Bake pork covered for 50 to 60 minutes, then uncover, continuing to bake additional 10 to 15 minutes, allowing meat to brown on top. Prepare peach sauce while pork rests after baking. Melt 2 tablespoons butter in small saucepan over medium-high heat. Add diced shallots, sautéing approximately 5 minutes until tender. Add dry white wine, cooking 13 minutes until liquid reduces by half. Reduce heat to low whisking. In peach preserves and remaining 2 tablespoons butter, continuing to cook 2 minutes until sauce slightly thickens. Serve sliced cooked pork into quarter-inch thick medallions, drizzling peach sauce generously over pork slices. Garnish with fresh peach slices if desired. This dish offered savory pork experience with sweet, tangy peach sauce, beautifully showcasing medieval preference for fruit-meat combinations, while allspice added warm, aromatic depth, appealing as flavorful, sophisticated main course, providing historical twist on contemporary fruit-sauced meats. Cormery, spiced pork loin. The unusual spice blend announced this wasn't ordinary medieval cooking. This was culinary innovation that stood apart from standardized powder fort and powder deuce mixtures. The distinctive combination of coriander and caraway was described as bit unusual for medieval English recipes, suggesting that beyond common spice blends, there were specific, perhaps regional or chef-specific combinations that created distinct local food identities. This medieval spiced pork loin recipe offered glimpse into diverse and sometimes unusual spice combinations favored in medieval era, while pork remained ubiquitous domestic animal requiring less attention and cheaper feed than beef, often allowed to roam freely, even in towns, creating practical protein source that could be elevated through sophisticated seasoning. The recipe from 14th century manuscript form of curry was noted for exceptionally simple and very tasty preparation, while practice of pigs being reared within city walls, as evidenced by archaeological excavations in Waterford, Ireland, and edicts concerning wandering pigs, provided localized context for pork consumption, highlighting that medieval cuisine wasn't monolithic, but encompassed regional variations and individual culinary innovations. The aroma started with pork loin marinated in red wine combined with ground coriander, ground caraway, pepper salt, and minced garlic, creating aromatic foundation that would penetrate meat during extended marinating period. Then came roasting process, where meat basted frequently with pan juices created rich, savory scents. Medieval cooks understood that time enhanced flavor development, allowing marinades to work for hours, ideally overnight, while turning meat occasionally ensured even coating and maximum flavor penetration. Preparation began with marinade preparation in oven-proof dish. Combine red wine with ground coriander, ground caraway, pepper salt, and minced garlic, creating flavorful marinade base. Marinate pork if desired. Tie pork loin with butcher's twine and score fat with sharp knife, allowing flavors to penetrate more deeply. Place pork loin into prepared marinade, allowing to marinate few hours, ideally overnight, turning meat, occasionally ensuring even coating. Roast, preheat oven to 350 Fahrenheit. Roast pork in oven-proof dish with marinade approximately 90 minutes, basting frequently with pan juices, keeping meat moist and flavorful. Prepare sauce once pork roasted, remove from liquid, allowing to rest. Transfer. Pan with roasting juices to stovetop, bringing juices to boil, then adding broth, bringing mixture back to boil, tasting for seasoning, simmering about 15 minutes, slightly reducing and concentrating flavors. Serve sliced rested pork loins, serving with rich aromatic sauce poured generously over meat. Cormery offered deeply flavorful aromatic pork dish, distinguished by unique spice blend of coriander and caraway, while red wine and garlic infused meat, creating robust, satisfying main course. Herbalat, medieval English frittata. The extensive herb list, read like medieval pharmacy inventory: parsley, mint, savory sage, tansy, verbena, clary rue, Pepperwort, fennel, southernwood. This wasn't just cooking. This was edible herbalism, where cultivated and wild herbs played central role in medieval dining, reflecting deep connection to land and holistic view of food as both sustenance and medicine. This recipe, documented in Formi of Curie prominent 14th century cookbook, offered unique perspective on egg dishes from period, while modern frittatas, typically associated with Italian cucina povera humble home-cooked food, their medieval counterparts like herbelette, illustrated distinct approach to egg preparation. Unlike omelets, where ingredients folded into cooked eggs, frittatas characterized by mixing ingredients directly into raw eggs, allowing even dispersion throughout dish, while extensive herb selection in original herbelette recipe highlighted central role of diverse fresh, often locally grown herbs in medieval cooking. The observation that many herbs listed aren't commonly available at most grocery stores underscored significant shift in modern produce availability and culinary preferences, suggesting medieval cuisine relied heavily on diverse range of fresh herbs, reflecting deeper connection to agricultural landscape. The aroma began with selection of fresh herbs with woody stems removed, then finely chopped, releasing concentrated herbal essences that would infuse entire egg mixture. Next came beaten eggs, thoroughly whisked with fork, creating smooth base that would bind all ingredients together. Preparation started with herb preparation. Remove woody stems from selected fresh herbs, chopping them finely to release maximum flavor and ensure even distribution throughout dish. Combine ingredients in bowl beat eggs thoroughly with fork, mixing in finely chopped herbs and pinch of salt, ensuring all ingredients well incorporated. Prepare baking dish coat. Baking dish generously with butter, preventing sticking and adding rich flavor to final result. Bake pour egg and herb mixture into prepared baking dish, preheating oven to 350 Fahrenheit. Baking 30 to 35 minutes until egg mixture completely set and firm. Serve herbelette forth either warm or at room temperature, making it versatile for various dining occasions. Herbelette offered savory, herb-rich egg dish with firm, satisfying texture. Specific blend of medieval herbs provided unique aromatic profile, distinguishing it from contemporary omelets, appealing as historical breakfast, light lunch, or side dish. Sfangata, Byzantine omelets. The sweet and savory combination shocked modern palates, but delighted ancient ones. This represented culinary tradition that predated many modern distinctions. While term Byzantine omelets was used, the dish shared significant commonalities with ovaspongia ex lacte, eggs sponged with milk, documented in Apicius cookbook dating from 1st to 4th centuries C. This Roman precursor highlighted distinct culinary preference for blending sweet and savory flavors, hallmark of ancient Roman cuisine, while preparation of such egg dishes in Byzantine recipes, often based on ancient sources and traditional Greek cooking, illustrated continuity of culinary practices across empires and eras. The lost sweet, savory breakfast or dessert represented key characteristic here. This integration of sweet and savory elements in single dish, particularly for breakfast or dessert, contrasted sharply with many modern Western culinary separations, underscoring historical continuity of certain flavor preferences and versatility of basic ingredients like eggs. The aroma started with eggs thoroughly beaten, then mixed with milk and small amount of olive oil until homogeneous liquid achieved. Next came hot olive oil in thin pan, preferably non-stick, for modern adaptation, creating foundation for cooking genuinely. Honey generously coating finished omelet, while freshly ground black pepper dusted over surface created unexpected but traditional contrast. Preparation began with egg mixture, preparation in bowl, thoroughly beat eggs, mixing with milk and small amount of olive oil until homogeneous liquid achieved, ensuring smooth, consistent texture. Heat pan, pour olive oil into thin pan, non-stick, suitable for modern adaptation, heating until hot, but not smoking temperature, crucial for proper cooking. Cook omelet, ladle portion of egg mixture into hot pan, cooking omelet until set and done without turning over, maintaining traditional preparation method that preserved delicate texture. Serve carefully, plate cooked omelet, generously coating with honey, creating sweet foundation, then dusting with freshly ground black pepper before serving, creating traditional contrast that defined dish. Sfangata offered light, spongy omelet with unique, intriguing, sweet, savory flavor profile, primarily from combination of honey and pepper, appealing as historical breakfast, unique brunch item, or light dessert, inviting exploration of ancient Roman and Byzantine preference for complex contrasting flavor combinations in unexpected contexts. Cresse of noodles, heraldic Czechy noodles. The absence of tomato sauce revealed forgotten pasta landscape. This early distinct form of pasta preparation in medieval Europe predated widespread tomato use, while pasta itself carried rich Italian history with concrete information on pasta products dating back to 13th or 14th centuries, demonstrating sophisticated noodle culture existed long before Columbian exchange. Medieval pasta dishes like losines, ancestor of lasagna, and macros or macaroons, often described as medieval mac and cheese, were common, while key characteristic of medieval pasta involved frequent cooking in broth rather than plain water, imparting richer flavor that defined pre-tomato pasta identity. This particular recipe related to triadi vermicelli type of thin noodle, while absence of tomato sauce as tomatoes were New World ingredient, represented crucial forgotten detail, highlighting fundamentally different identity for familiar dishes before global ingredient exchange transformed foodways. The aroma began with durum wheat flour combined with egg water and salt, kneaded until very hard, smooth consistency achieved. Then came cooking process, where shaped noodles boiled in broth or salted water for 15 to 20 minutes until tender. Meanwhile, serving preparation involved grinding chosen spices, black pepper, cinnamon, grains of paradise in mortar, while grating firm cheese such as pecorino or parmigiano. Preparation started with pasta dough making in bowl knead durum wheat flour with pinch of salt, 1 egg or egg white, and small amount of water, continuing until dough becomes very hard, achieving smooth consistency. Shaped noodles take small pieces of prepared dough shaping with hands into thin threads resembling little worms. Alternatively, roll out thin sheet cutting into small uniform pieces. Cooked pasta, bring pot of broth or salted water to boil, adding shaped noodles, cooking approximately 15 to 20 minutes until tender, draining. Cooked pasta well. Prepare serving ingredients. Grind chosen spices, black pepper, cinnamon, grains of paradise in mortar, grating firm cheese such as pecorino or parmigiano. Assemble and serve plate-cooked noodles generously, sprinkling with grated cheese and ground spices, serving hot, optionally saffron, added to cooking broth or sprinkled on top for vibrant color. This dish offered savory pasta experience, rich with cheese and aromatic spices, deepened by broth cooking, revealing different complex flavor profile from commonly known preparations. Cheese gnocchi. The absence of potatoes told the real story. Medieval gnocchi stood as the prime example of how familiar dishes had fundamentally different identities before global ingredient exchange. Unlike potato-based gnocchi, ubiquitous today, medieval versions were made with cheese, typically Parmesan, as potatoes were New World ingredient not introduced to Italy until 16th century. Earliest forms of gnocchi, dating back to Roman times, used semolina flour and eggs, while in 15th century Lombardy variant called zanzarelli was made with bread, milk, cheese, and almonds. The absence of characteristic grooves on gnocchi until 1570 further distinguished these early forms from modern versions. This pre-Columbian culinary identity illustrated profound impact of Columbian exchange on global foodways, showing how many dishes considered traditional today were fundamentally different in medieval forms, relying on old world ingredients while emphasizing ingenuity of medieval cooks in creating diverse textures and flavors from more limited ingredient palette. The aroma started with fresh cheese such as mild goat cheese or ricotta, mashed until soft and pliable, using large mortar and pestle, or simply by hand. Then came egg yolks worked thoroughly into cheese until fully incorporated, followed by gradual addition of semolina flour, creating workable dough that could hold its shape. Preparation began with cheese preparation, if using firm, fresh cheese mash until becomes soft and pliable, using large mortar and pestle, ensuring smooth, consistent texture. Form dough base once cheese softened, add egg yolks, working them thoroughly into cheese until fully incorporated, creating rich, flavorful foundation. Add flour gradually, add about half of semolina flour to cheese and egg mixture, mixing continuously, adding remaining flour, little at time until soft dough forms able to hold shape. Gnocchi logs divide dough into 3 roughly equal pieces, rolling each piece into log approximately 1 inch thick, creating uniform cylindrical shapes. Boil water, bring large pot of water to rolling boil. If cheese isn't particularly salty, add salt to boiling water. Cut and cook gnocchi carefully. Ladle hot water onto cutting board, placing 1 dough log onto wet board, holding board over pot using ladle, cutting off walnut-sized pieces, allowing each to drop into boiling water. Boil approximately 30 to 45 seconds until they float, removing with slotted spoon, arranging on serving dish, grating generous amount of hard cheese over gnocchi. Macaroons, baked noodles with cheese. The layering technique revealed ancient pasta secrets. This medieval mac and cheese, or early precursor to lasagna, represented foundational pasta dish from Middle Ages, prominently featured in Forme of Curie's significant 14th century English cookbook, while pasta traditions in Italy predated this maker. Runes illustrated widespread adoption and adaptation of noodle dishes across Europe. Key distinguishing feature from modern macaroni and cheese involved absence of creamy bechamel sauces or additional spices in original recipe, relying solely on richness of cheese and butter, while explicit instruction to layer noodles with cheese and butter as lozenge, lasagna. further emphasized connection to early layered pasta dishes. This highlighted forgotten era of pasta before ubiquitous tomato, where flavor came from broth cheese and wide array of spices, underscoring regional diversity of medieval Italian cuisine and demonstrating how key ingredients later fundamentally transformed global foodways, creating entirely new culinary identities. The aroma began with thin sheets of dough made from flour mixed with pinch of salt, gradually adding water and optionally egg kneading until firm dough formed, then rolling into very thin sheet, approximately 1/8 inch thick, cutting into long, thin strips similar to modern lasagna or fettuccine noodles. Preparation started with pasta dough making and bowl mix flour with pinch of salt, gradually adding water and optionally egg kneading until firm dough forms, rolling out into very thin cutting sheet into long, thin strips. Cooked noodles bring pot of water to boil, adding touch of oil and salt, casting freshly cut noodles into boiling water, cooking until al dente, typically 2 to 3 minutes for fresh pasta, draining thoroughly. Assemble dish in serving bowl, place layer of melted butter and grated cheese, arranging layer of cooked noodles on top, continuing to layer with more melted butter and grated cheese, similar to lasagna construction. Served dish can be served immediately, allowing heat from noodles to melt cheese. Alternatively, for more unified texture, assembled dish can be placed in hot oven around 350 Fahrenheit for 5 to 10 minutes before serving. Macaroons offered rich, hearty, satisfying experience, characterized by soft, slightly chewy noodle texture and sharp, savory aged cheese flavor balanced by luxurious mouthfeel of butter. Crustards of flesh, birds in a pie. The live birds singing when the pie opened weren't legend, they were medieval reality. This elaborate, visually striking tradition in medieval banqueting, dating from 14th to 15th centuries, appeared in prominent English culinary manuscripts like Formy of Curie and Harleian, demonstrating that medieval cuisine wasn't just sustenance, but pure theatrical spectacle. Medieval pies, often referred to as bake meat, utilized tough, inedible pastry shell or coffin, primarily as cooking container sealing in meats and sauces. While this huff paste technique meant pastry wasn't always intended for consumption beyond mere sustenance. These pies served as grand subtleties or entertainment pieces, sometimes containing live birds, creating possible origin of Sing a Song of Sixpence nursery rhyme. The aroma began with ground-boiled pork combined with diced hard-boiled eggs and grated cheese mixed with various powders, spices like salt, pepper, ginger, clove, parsley, whole spices, sugar, and saffron, creating rich, complex foundation. Then came small stewed birds, chicken squab, or quail, plus pieces of rabbit that would crown the filling. Medieval banquet organizers understood that visual impact created lasting memories, while elaborate presentations demonstrated wealth power and cultural sophistication, making these pies centerpieces of aristocratic dining. Preparation started with broth and meat. Prepare beef broth from oxtail, simmered 12 hours. Meanwhile, cook chicken squab, quail, and rabbit pieces by simmering in pot with grease, verjuice, and spices like mace pepper and cinnamon until tender, once cooked to bone. Meat reserving cooking liquid. Prepare main filling grind, boiled pork dice, hard-boiled eggs, grate cheese combining with various powders, spices, adding enough reserved broth, creating thick, slightly runny mixture that holds together. Prepare pastry using hot water, pastry flour, lard water mixed vigorously with hot liquid, rolling out bottom crust lining baking dish. Assemble pie spoon main filling mixture into pastry lined dish, spreading evenly, arranging cooked pieces of chicken squab, quail, and rabbit on top. Add liquid whisk, 2 eggs with reserved cooking liquid, carefully pouring over meat. Filling, ensuring coverage without overfilling. Cover and seal, roll out top crust, placing over filling, sealing edges, cutting slit, allowing steam venting during baking. Bake in preheated oven, 350 Fahrenheit, for 75 minutes until crust golden brown and filling set, allowing cool slightly before serving. This elaborate creation offered complex, savory experience with rich ground pork, eggs, and cheese complemented by aromatic spices and tender various fowl. These 25 forgotten dinners reveal medieval cuisine wasn't primitive survival, but sophisticated artistry, where every ingredient told stories of trade routes, religious devotion, and culinary rebellion against limitations. From mixed pickles preserving harvests through brutal winters, to elaborate bird pies literally singing when opened, these recipes prove medieval cooks mastered transformation, turning necessity into luxury, scarcity into abundance, simple ingredients into dishes. Modern chefs study with reverence. Food served as social stratifier where ingredient access correlated directly with wealth. But external forces like Black Death dramatically reshaped dietary norms when labor shortages increased, wages making meat accessible even for poorer individuals. Religious observances sparked innovation rather than limitation, with elaborate illusion foods during fast days, turning dietary restrictions into culinary opportunities, while cross-cultural exchange fundamentally shaped European palates through continuous evolution across centuries. Reclaiming these recipes allows deeper appreciation of complex interplay between food culture and history. These aren't museum pieces, but living traditions, connecting us to ancestors who understood eating meant community celebration and pure joy in transformation.